Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're just starting to see a few more people logging in, so we're just going to give it a few more moments before we start, and just bear with us. Okay, then, so we'll make a start. There's still people logging in, but we'll see the numbers rise. So, welcome today to the City and Guilds Technicals New Generation Qualification. This is the second webinar, so this follows the launch webinar that we had earlier in the year. So today we'll be looking at the assessment process and what's involved in that. Just a few housekeeping rules before we start. So the session is being recorded, which will be sent out to all attendees after the webinar. Everyone is on mute. The slides will be sent out to all attendees alongside the recording after this webinar is finished. Any questions that you have, please add them into the question box, the question function. We have got other members that are on the call today that will be in the background answering questions for us, but there will be some time at the end. We've got quite a lot to get through, but there'll be some time at the end to answer any questions. If the session cuts out, please use the original webinar link to gain access back into the session, or to join over telephone, select phone call in the audio pane, and the dialing information will be displayed. Just a few more functions here on how to use GoToWebinar. So you've got the chat function, we've got the question function, materials, microphone, etc. And if you need to react to anything. So again, please use the question tab. If you've got any questions as we proceed through this webinar, again, please add them in as we go through. You don't feel like you have to wait until the end. Today's agenda, so we're just going to go through a quick welcome and introduction, and then we're going to go through the qualification overview. So we'll look at the unit content, the access to the sample to practical materials and knowledge assignments. We'll look at the assessment overview, how the grading grids work, the indicative content that's in there, the observation recording forms, and then some examples of good practice, useful tips for preparing practical assignment, and the assessor and IQA requirements. So just a quick introduction to the building services team. So there's myself, Simon Quince, I'm the technical advisor for BSE, and we have Paloma, who is our senior product lead. We've also got Salim, is our industry manager, and Matt Rogers, who is our product manager. You should be able to see me on the screen, hopefully. I'll just introduce Salim if he's there, if you want to just give you a quick introduction.
Afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Simon. Yep, so I'm Salim Bizram, the industry manager here for Building Services Engineering. You can see a lot of familiar names on the attendee list. So as Simon mentioned, if you do have any questions, please put them into the questions tab, and we'll try and answer those as best as we can throughout this presentation and obviously towards the end. Anything we can't answer, there will be a follow-up frequently asked questions document that will be circulated and hosted on the 6036 webpage. So yeah, let's hope today's a good day. And over back to you, Simon.
Thank you, Salim. Right, we'll make a start. I'm going to turn my camera off while we go through the presentation. So again, new qualification, technicals new generation. These qualifications have been designed in line with the occupational standards as does the apprenticeships. So it's designed that you could effectively, if you really wanted to, you could deliver this alongside your apprentices. I appreciate that's not always easy in some cases, but it's down to your curriculum planning. But the content of the qualification is in line with the apprenticeship model. Benefits to these new qualifications is the holistical practical assessment. So it's no utilised assessment, means that the assessment model, so the on-demand exams cover varying units, not just one unit. So you've not got multiple examinations, one for each unit. So for example, unit assessment 350 is covering units 301, 302, 303 and 304, whereas the assessment MCQ 351 is covering units 305, 306 and 307. So for those of you that are familiar with delivering the 6035 type model, that would have been an assessment MCQ for each unit, whereas now we've just got the two. So it's practical and up to date with industry, emphasis on real world knowledge skills mapped to occupational standards, as we just spoke about. It's external quality assurance, so there's no dated exam, which means unlike the 8202, the exams are available online on Evolve for whenever you choose to, or you feel that your learners are ready for those exams. And it's externally quality assured by ourselves. Same occupational standards apprenticeships. So as I said, there is a possibility there or potential for merging full-time learners and apprenticeships in the classroom where it fits in your centre. We have done some upgrades to the website as well. So we've redesigned the homepage, tried to make it more simple, clarity for users, easier feedback. So if you've not already been on there onto the website, please go on there and you'll see as we're going to progress through this presentation that we're going to be looking at the sample material assessment that's on the website. So if you go in there and you put the qualification code in, the 6036, and then you'll be able to see the assessment materials that we're going to run through today. So a quick qualification overview again. We went through this initially on the first launch of the qualification, just to refresh people. So it's level 3 technical occupational entry into plumbing and heating installation, the GLH 445 hours. The qualification aligns fully to the knowledge, skills and behaviours in the standards ST0303, the plumbing and domestic heating technician, and is assessed by practical and MCQ, which covers all the units of the qualification. Qualification is approved for learners aged 19 plus. Assessments are externally set and internally marked. The outcome is a straight pass or fail. Full approval is required for this qualification, and the entry requirements are that learners should already hold the level 2 diploma in plumbing studies 6035 or equivalently the 8202 or other awarding organisation equivalent in order to complete the qualification satisfactorily. The assessment strategy. So candidates must successfully complete the assessed components listed to achieve the qualification. Now, with regards to the multiple choice questions and retakes and resits, candidates who have failed an online MCQ question paper are permitted up to 4 resits of that assessment before re-registration is required. And also with the assignments, candidates who have failed 1 or more tasks within the assignments will be advised to complete a further learning period before fully resitting fully all tasks with a different version of the assessment. Candidates can reset a different version of the assignment up to a maximum of 3 times before re-registration is required. So the qualification assessment is broken down across 4 unit titles. So we've got 350, which covers plumbing and heating systems, which is an externally marked MCQ exam, which is on Evolve. It's a pass or fail. It's a 60% pass mark. Unit 351 looks at supervisory, electrical, fuel and environmental systems. Again, it's an externally marked MCQ exam with a pass or fail, 60%. Unit 352 is plumbing and heating systems. This is the design section of the assessment. It's internally marked and it's externally verified assignment. We'll be looking at that in further detail as we progress through this webinar. It's a straightforward pass or fail again. And section 353, which is more the practical element of this assignment, and looks at the plumbing and heating installation and maintenance. Again, it's internally marked and it's externally verified. And again, a straight pass or fail. Going back to the website, so if you have logged into the website under the 3036 number, you'll see that you've got the centre documents and the sample assessments. And it's the sample assessments we're going to take a look at today and how they're put together and the requirements of what's needed as you're going through this qualification. So the MCQ papers, there is 2 sample MCQ papers available for you to take a look at. These again are Units 350 and Units 351. As I explained previously, these exams cover a range of units holistically. So for example, Unit 350 covers, Assessment 350 covers Unit 301, 302, 303 and 304, whereas Assessment 351 covers Unit 305, 306 and 307. Unit 352 is the design assignment. So again, you see that we've got sample assessment material there on the website. This gives the candidate an assignment pack which will have the following information for the candidate. So you've got the assessment overview, we've got some candidate guidance in there, we've got an assignment brief, and we've got the task itself. So candidates will find within there the resources. So this provides a list of equipment, documents and tools that they will have access to complete the task. It gives them the conditions of the assessment, which will tell them the duration and rules that they must follow when completing the task. It will explain the control conditions, for example, the rules on completing the task and not to share their information or discuss the work with any other candidates. It will inform the candidate what they must produce for marking. So this describes the evidence you must submit for the task, for when the task is completed. Be aware that failure to submit any evidence requested can adversely affect the overall mark of the assessment. And finally, additional evidence. So this describes other forms of evidence that will be controlled by the assessor to support in the marking of the performance. This will often, but not be linked to photographic evidence. So this assignment, 352, so task 1, there's only one task, this part of it, it's a design section. They've got an hour and a half for this section of the assignment, and during that time they've got to produce or using the resource materials provided must suggest a minimum capacity for the cold water brake system to serve the booster pumps for property, identify the suitable brake system from manufacturers' catalogues, complete loadings of tables, identify cold water pipe sizes, calculate the water system, calculate total head loss, choose a suitable booster pump using calculations and pump curves, so the information is there for them in the appendix, calculate the pre-charge pressure for the cold water vessel, produce a schematic drawing of the boosted cold water system, and complete the quote pro forma for the boosted cold water system from the incoming water main, which again, they've got information and resources in Appendix 1D. What must be produced for grading for this part of the assessment, task 1, is they must have written paper-based response that meets the task requirements, including calculations and workings out, schematic drawings, sketches, and a list of all the sources referenced. It's quite a lot to cover there for the candidates in task 1, and they've got an hour and a half to do that. The assessor pack, so there's an assessor pack for each assessment. So the assessor pack for 352, just to give you a brief, gives you the assessment overview, the assignment guidance, the assignment brief, the task, the grading, the centre guidance, the candidate recording form, the declaration of authenticity, and the resources in Appendix 1 and Appendix 2, which we're going to take a look through now. The grading grids. So this is just an example of one of the grading grids. So there's a grading grid for each task. So each individual task has its own grading grid. Assessors should consider the grading descriptors in each task and table and consider whether candidates have met each of the descriptors that define the minimum performance required for a pass grade. So you'll see there, for an example, a fail, the design solution does not meet the minimum design criteria established in meeting the customer's needs. Or again, for a pass, pipe sizing and design calculations are applied but may demonstrate minor errors in maths, but do not change the overall outcome of the pipe size chosen. So again, it's important that you go through these grading grids and ensure that the candidate has met the criteria for whether it be a pass or a fail. Indicative content. So there's indicative content again for each task. So the indicative content is specific for the version of the assignment and is provided to supplement the grade descriptors, giving a sense of intention of the task evidence and expected parameters of the response for the given assignment version. The indicative content is not, however, exhaustive. The assessor should use the indicative context to support their judgment, but ultimately the judgment should be based on whether the candidate evidence meets the minimum pass requirements as outlined by the grading descriptors. So again, there you've got some calculations in there. You've got completed loaded tables, so see appendix. So what the candidate should be producing. Candidate observation form, candidate record form. So for those out there that have worked on the 8202, this won't be unfamiliar. It's quite straightforward. Candidate name, candidate number, centre name and centre number, and then you've got the task, and then your notes and justification and the outcome, whether it's a pass or fail. So again, this form will be part of the evidence records kept for the EQA. So when you're looking at your notes and your justification there, you want to be justifying where you can see evidence where the candidate has met the requirements for a pass, or oppositely, where the candidate has not met the requirements, and highlighting there in the candidate's work where that can be seen. Again, this needs to be signed by the assessor and signed by the assessor and the candidate. Declaration of authenticity. So there's a declaration of authenticity for this assignment. Candidates are required to sign the declarations of authenticity, as is the assessor. So you've got the assessment ID version, the qualification number, candidate name, candidate number, centre name and centre number. Any additional support, so if it's a no, that's fine. If it is, if you haven't to give them any additional support, then please give details in the box provided there as to what support's been given. The candidate signs and dates and the assessor signs and dates, but it's important that this document is completed for all the assignment tasks. So assessor's guidance. So again, you've got practical assignment assessor's pack, candidate pack, so to say. So the candidate pack for assessment 353 is very similar to the 352. It gives the candidate the assessment overview, it gives them the candidate guidance, gives them the assignment brief and the task. And again, they will have the resources, what resources are available, the conditions of the assessment, the controlled conditions, what must be produced for marking, and any additional evidence. So very similar to the candidate pack for 352. This is looking at the practical element. So task 1 for the 353, they get an hour for this task and they've got to commission a hot water system. So a candidate must visually check the system components against manufacturer's instructions, check the expansion vessel for correct charge, fill the system with water, check for repairs and any leaks, complete a soundness test in accordance with BSCN 806, complete a soundness test certificate, flush the system, commission the cylinder and complete the benchmark commissioning certificate, check the operation of the controls and demonstrate to the contractor how they set and operate the system. So what needs to be produced for grading is a completed soundness test certificate and completed benchmark commissioning certificate. So that's task 1. Task 2. So the candidate gets 2 hours allocated for this task, and the candidate must carry out routine maintenance of a sealed central heating system, carry out visual inspection of a sealed central heating system, carry out routine inspection and servicing of components of a sealed central heating system, complete service and maintenance records using the maintenance checklist, identify and complete the fault identification checklist for the 3 faults, and safely carry out fault diagnosis and rectification work on 3 faults. So for this section, we need a completed maintenance checklist and a completed fault identification checklist. Task 3, so the candidates get 3 hours for this section, and they need to install and decommission an S-plan sealed central heating system. Again, this is just a sample assessment at the moment. Produce a diagram to show plans for pipework, installation of zone valves, pump, auto bypass, sealed system components, and primary magnetic filters. Install and make connections to a pre-installed heat-only gas boiler, a hot water storage cylinder, primary flow and return only. 2-zone heating, 1 for panel radiator, 1 for underfloor heating. Install sealed central heating system components, including a circulation pump, motorized valve, filling loop, expansion vessels, pressure release valve, a pressure gauge. Hand over to the home audit, including a demonstration of how to set the 5.2 programmer, written instructions, and decommission the system following the completion of task 4. So not to decommission until they've completed task 4. What must be produced for grading? Completed supporting diagram, written instructions to the customer on how to set the 5.2 programmer, 125 to 200 words on a side of A4 paper, and a completed decommissioning certificate. So quite a lot to go through there. Candidate gets 3 hours for that part of the task. Task 3. Task 4. So candidate gets 2 hours for this task, and it's all around wiring and testing electrical components. Candidate must review and modify the risk assessment documentation as required, produce a fully labelled wiring diagram for the wiring centre supplied, linking the components identified. Diagram must include a number of cores for each cable and specify the type of cable, so it's flexible, composite or flat. Wiring the following components in accordance with Chapter 64 of BS 7671, so a fuse connection unit, which is to be supplied from a local socket outlet wired into a radial circuit, a system timer or controller, 3 2-port valves, a circulation pump, 2 room thermostats, 1 cylinder thermostat, a wiring connection center, and a boiler. Must complete the following tests under supervision, so polarity test and functional tests. What must be produced for grading is a completed wiring diagram, materials list including detail of the type and size of the wiring and fixing, and a completed risk assessment. So there's your task 4. And finally, task 5, we've got to identify and rectify electrical faults. We've got time allocated for this task is 1.5 hours. Candidate must complete a full visual inspection of the electrical components, including the secure fixings of components, suitability of components, condition and termination of the cables. They must implement safe isolation procedures to ensure that the system is safe to work on and provide a written step-by-step safe isolation procedure. Carry out logical fault finding diagnosis on the electrical components. Write a description of the 3 faults identified and the rectification solutions. Identify 3 faults. What must be produced for grading is a written step-by-step isolation procedure. So the same between 200 to 500 words on the side of an A4 paper, and a written description of the fault identification and rectification details. Again, 200 to 500 word on a fault identification checklist. So there's the 2 assessments. Guidance for the assessor. So again, you've got a guidance pack for this assessment, 353. Again, follows a similar process to what you got for the 352. So you've got the assessment overview, the assessment guidance, the assignment brief, the task, the grading, the centre guidance, assessor observation forms, candidate record forms, declaration of authenticity, and you've got assessment resources and sources of general information. Just taking a little look at some of those things. Again, you've got the grading grids. So for each part of the task, so tasks 1 through to 5, you've got a grading grid. And again, it'll look at what is a fail and what is a pass. So for example, worked in a safe manner but used tools, equipment, diagnostic equipment incorrectly would be a fail. Or planned and completed and specified the tasks. Practical skills were reasonable, well developed, allowing most calculations, measurements and readings to be obtained through though some inconsistencies exist, is in your pass bracket. So again, you're using these grading grids to help justify the grade for these candidates and where you've seen or where you can highlight that in the candidate's work. Indicative content, again, for each task, so tasks through to 1 to 5, there's a section of indicative content. Obviously, I've only screenshotted small items of this, otherwise we'd be here all afternoon. So again, you've got indicative content around your soundness testing and around the commissioning and what's required. Candidate record form, again, as you saw in the previous assessment, this time the slight difference is that you've got notes and justification for each task. So you've got tasks through to 1 to 5 and whether they've passed or failed those components. Again, must be signed by the assessor and dated. This form will be part of the evidence records kept for EQA. So when we do come in for external quality assurance, we're looking at the candidate's evidence and the forms that are required. Photographic evidence. So I know this has cropped up in the past on other qualifications, but there is some guidance there on exactly what the requirements are for the photographic evidence. So when we looked at task 3, there's 2 assessor photographs, one at 50% completion and one at 100% completion. These photographs should be showing the quality of the pipe work, the soldering, the pipe bending and clipping, along with the candidate's choice of component location, so where the candidate's actually chosen to put their stuff, based on the design, capturing the assessment in progress and at completion. Images can support judgments of the quality which would affect pass or fail decision. Task 4, there's just one photograph at 100%, so when it's complete, to show the proficiency of the candidate and the use of tools, as well as the neatness and compliance of the candidate, especially the wiring centre. If there's any conductors showing any damage to insulation, excessive or insufficient cable used. Again, images can support the judgments of the quality, which could affect the pass or fail decision. Task 5, 2 assessor photographs, again, one at 50% completion, one at 100% completion, portraying the quality of pipe work. So again, the soldering, the pipe bending, the clipping, again, the candidate's choice of component location on their design. Again, these photographs are required for the EQA. Declaration of authenticity, exactly the same as it was for assessment 352. So again, must be signed by the candidate, must be signed by the assessor and dated. Any additional support that's been given, just a brief explanation of that if it's taken place. Observation of evidence. So when you do your observation forms, observation notes form part of the candidate's evidence and must capture evidence of student performance during the practical task. So again, performance in, were they confident? Were they looking for reassurance? Were they unsure? Were they confused? That sort of student performance, describing how well the activity is being carried out rather than stating the steps and actions the candidate's taken. Use descriptive notes to focus on the quality of the performance, notably in relation to the quality indicators in the grading descriptors. These notes do provide sufficient appropriate evidence and can be used by the assessor and for verification to assess the performance against the grade descriptors. Identifying what is about the performance that is different between candidates and can clarify the qualities that are important to record. Assessors should ensure that any required additional supporting evidence, including photographs or videos, can be easily matched to the correct candidate and clear, well lit, showing the areas of particular interest. Time management. So assessment sessions can be split to aid the management of assessment. Scheduling the fewest numbers of sessions split over consecutive days where possible. There is guidance there around candidate to assessor ratio, so a maximum of 6 candidates to 1 assessor. Again, this is down to your centre and whether that maximum could be different. Keep a timetable of assessments, which can be used by the EQA on request. Keep assessment records for up to 3 years. Centres are required to rotate usage of assignment versions, which will be monitored by the EQA on the external quality assurance visit. Assessor and IQA requirements. So quality assurance includes initial centre approval qualification approval, and the centre's own internal procedures for monitoring quality. Centres are responsible for the internal quality assurance, and City and Guilds is responsible for the external quality assurance. In order to carry out the quality assurance role, internal quality assurers must have appropriate teaching and vocational knowledge and expertise, have experience in quality management and internal quality assurance, hold or be working towards an appropriate teaching, training and assessing qualification, be familiar with the occupation and technical content covered within the qualification. For more information, this guidance is printed within the qualification handbook. There is a webinar survey. If you would be kind enough to just take a couple of moments and use your camera to scan that QR code. If you could complete that for us, that would be fantastic. Just takes a minute or two. So I'll just give you a minute to do that. So that brings us to questions, really. So I know Salim's been in the background answering some questions, I believe.
Yeah, there's only been a few,
Yeah,
Simon, which we've managed to answer. So please do keep your questions coming through.
yeah.
Obviously, we do have some more time to go through any questions through the allotted hour that we have for this webinar. So please, if you do have any questions, we can obviously go through them as well.
Just to answer the questions, as I explained at the beginning, the webinar is recorded, so the recording will be sent out to anybody who's attended and to those who haven't attended, as well as a PDF of the presentation. So we've still got some time if anybody has any further questions. I know there's quite a lot of content there to cover. I tried to get as much in as I possibly could. For those of you that are familiar with the 6035 and the 8202, you'll see that it's sort of an amalgamation of both. What I think you would say is the best of both, really. Especially the holistic approach around the examinations. So you've not got unit examinations where you've got 7 different exams.
Just to reiterate what Simon was saying about the recording, if you've a couple of you have already said that you missed the beginning bit. So a recording link, I believe, Simon, will be going out to everyone for those people that registered
That's
for
right,
this
yeah.
webinar. The other thing is the QR code does not list the current event.
Right.
So I don't know if you can do something perhaps
Yeah,
post event to
I
do
will do
that.
it.
Or
I'll send something out, yeah.
okay, thank you. So a question from John around what is this qualification taking place of? So obviously 8202 35, I believe, or 820230, which is the plumbing
35, yeah.
technical, and obviously 6035. That is what this product is basically taking place of. So, this will be the only funded qualification available for 19 plus learners. Another question around alignment to gas. Yeah, this qualification is not gas safe registered aligned. The only gas safe registered aligned qualifications are the apprenticeship qualification, which is 9074, as well as the 9289 gas pathway qualification.
We'll hang around for a while if there's any more questions from anybody. I know a few people are starting to drop off now. Another question there from John around the if learners have completed the 8202 level 2, they're in the 18 age group. Yeah, they continue to the 8202. Unfortunately, this qualification is only funded for 19 plus.
So again, the copy of the presentation and the recording will be sent out to everyone. So for those of you that have registered, you'll receive a automatic link post the webinar, which will contain details and a PDF version of all the slides that were presented today, as well as a link to go and view the recording as well.
That's right, yeah. I think it looks like we've pretty much come to an end on the questions at the moment. Doesn't seem to be much more coming through. If there's any last questions, please fire them in. I hope those of you that are still here have found that informative and you've got something out of it. Please take a look on the website at the assessment materials, have a good look through it. I think there's a lot of information in there. There's some really good resources, especially around the marking grids and the indicative content.
Yeah, there was just a question around, conflict with T levels and stuff. Obviously, T levels are a little bit different to this particular qualification. T levels are obviously a 2-year level 3 qualification aimed at 16 to 18-year-olds, whereas this level 3 qualification is funded for 19 plus and is only delivered generally through a 1-year program. So, yeah, I think what you'll need to do for those people that have raised this question is to just have a look at your curriculum and plan for your curriculum, obviously, as soon as you can, because obviously this particular product is going to be live come the next academic year, this September. So, this certainly has a place within most centres' curriculum for 19 plus learners wanting to deliver a plumbing only qualification, whereas the T level has a plumbing specialism, but the first year is generally taught around the world of building services.
That's right, yeah. The questions have dried up now. People are dropping off, so I think we'll end the webinar there. And thank you for all those that have joined us today. And we'll look forward to seeing you all in the future.
Thank you. Take care.
Cheers,
Have a good
guys.
day.
Bye bye.